Good morning, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation. We have a lovely scene here with our lilacs, beautiful, beautiful, and our dogwood. This is one of my favorite times of the year. We have a cool, wet morning here at the Seeds. And what is the morning? It's Friday, May 10th. Guys, so I get a table. So we have the moon in Gemini, so you can expect a very talkative day from me. I have a lot to say, I think. Perhaps not. Certainly there was a lot to say yesterday in the trial against Trump with Stormy Daniels on the stand, and boy, she could definitely be a lawyer if she so chose. If she so chose. What a smart lady. What a smart lady. And yeah. All right. We're not going to talk too much about that because there are things today that in their way may describe some of that. Anyway, I want to talk about aspects. The moon is in Gemini until here on the East Coast, 11:14 p.m. and then it moves into Cancer. So some of you further west of here will have a little bit more time with that Cancer moon, but it will be towards the end of the day. We have two aspects happening today. One is a semi-square between Uranus and Mars. Semisquares are half squares. They're 45-degree squares. They are stressful, as are squares. They're not quite as stressful. They're actually kind of stressful in a different way. Squares create a crisis that we must act upon. And semi-squares also create a crisis that we act upon, but in a different way. The square is more, we go from in a more of an internal sort of yin energy and burst out into a yang energy. That energy moving out, that force, that need to, like, I must. And semi-squares are asking us to pull back from that expressive energy into a more introspective space. And so for those of us who tend to be introspective in our nature, it's a little bit easier. For those who are not introspective, it's a little bit harder. So we can imagine somebody like, let's say, the 45th ex-president may have a little trouble with this kind of aspect. Now that's between Mars and Uranus. This is part of the Mars-Uranus cycle. It's a 2-year cycle that began, let's see, if it's 2024, I believe began in 2022, this cycle. So began in, do I want to say 2022? I'm not exactly sure, but it's at the end. The relationship between Mars and Uranus are at the end of their cycle, their synod. It's the last 45 degrees of this synod, and it is about extracting meaning. Now, and we can certainly have a lot of fodder to extract meaning from, but I want to read to you what this brings up in us. A tendency to take risks, to feel restless, to act on sudden impulse without considering consequences. That is a tendency with this aspect. So I would suggest that you don't do that, right? Because this can create problems. Impulsiveness is not your friend today. We also have a semi-square between between Venus and Neptune. Now, this is an interesting semi-square. It's still a semi-square. It still has an energy of energy moving in. But it is actually at the beginning of their relationship, their synod. So it's the first 45-degree aspect we have between these two planets. And of course, Venus and Neptune have a special relationship in that Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. And so it brings in questions of compassion, right? And love and connection and relationship, and also a financial component because we're dealing with Venus. But one of the things we have to watch for is that we can talk ourselves into. We can perhaps not see things for how they really are and just see things the way we want to see them. So we can be very convinced of our own perspective, and we can perhaps wear some rose-colored glasses. So, and I like rose-colored glasses. One of my favorite colors for glasses, actually. But we do have to take into consideration that we may be imagining things, I wouldn't say that aren't there, but maybe we're not seeing things as they truly are. So those are the two caveats for today. So that is what's percolating. Now I am going to be taking a little trip tomorrow. Here's the wisteria. The next time, well, you'll see it tomorrow morning because I'll be here in the morning. But when I get back from my little trip, I think these wisteria will be in full bloom, and so that's something to look forward to. We can see that they're just now starting, and there's a lot of them, so I'm really excited about the wisteria. This weekend, of course, as you probably know, is Mother's Day, and I do have a mom, and I know some of you know that my mom passed, and you're like, well, you have a mom, your mom passed. It's actually my birth mom. I'm going to see this weekend. She's in the Biden country, and I will do some videos probably from her garden, which is lovely as well. Not as nearly as wild, but she sort of lives in a more erudite neighborhood where they don't allow for things to overgrow like we allow to happen here. So anyway, so that's where I'll be this weekend. I'm taking the train down tomorrow, and I'll be down there for a couple of days. And so I'll be doing these from her garden, and that'll be cool. But when we get back, and I'm going to see if I can get Michael to take some pictures, and because I don't really want to miss this for you guys. But we can see the wisteria growing here. So, to round up the astrology, watch out for making decisions impulsively because you're frustrated or aggravated. This isn't a time for action. It has more to do with the best action to take is an understanding of what all this new information, all this awakening that's been going on. There's been a lot of things that people were not aware of that they're suddenly aware of. There are things that are in people's faces that maybe hadn't been there before. It is time to sort of look at that instead of necessarily taking an impulsive action on it, really coming to understand what's at stake. Uranus is about freeing us, and perhaps this is about freeing us from an old story that we have come to understand is not exactly what's going on or what has been going on. Let's take a walk up. I want to bring you to the other lilacs. Well, there are these lilacs here. These are my neighbor's lilacs. But of course, as you know, you plant something for yourself, your neighbors get to have fun with it. And it's been really rainy here, and the grass is just sort of taken off. And even though I must at some point mow it, I really like it when it looks like this, because you can kind of see what nature had in mind for this area, right? Like this is nature's landscaping here. All these irises, they're going to be coming up soon. I think those are Siberian irises, if I'm correct. Michael would know. And here's this beautiful white lilac. We usually have a lovely lilac arrangement this time in our home in an homage to Michael's mom, Helen, who we lost in 2015, whose favorite flower was the lilac. So this is always, and her birthday was in May. So this is always a remembrance time for Helen. Oh, look at these. You can see the lilacs here. And actually, I don't think my neighbor would mind, but look at all those beautiful